Dear students, Namaste and welcome to the next class of Compulsory English, Grade 8. Dear students, we are dealing with different activities in Unit 9. Do you know what we did in our previous class? Can you recall them? Try to recall, okay? Alright, I hope you have already recalled. Now, can you share what we did? Very good. We read the reading text, the leap between high school and college, as well as we did different activities based on that text. Let's look at what we discussed in our previous class, what we learned. So, in our previous class, we mainly discussed the reading text, the leap between high school and college. And there, we discussed that college education is more challenging than high school education. And we also discussed the reasons why college education is more challenging than high school education. And the reasons were college education is more costly. Next, college students have more workload. And the last one was there are more activities in college than in a high school. These were the things we discussed in our previous class, and on the basis of this discussion, we did different activities. Do you know what we are going to study today? Can you guess? Yes, exactly. We are going to deal with pronunciation section. So please turn a book to pronunciation section and let's do the activities together. Okay? Are you ready? Okay, let's do them. So, the instruction says, with the help of your teacher or a mobile phone, learn the pronunciation of these college-related words. So, in your textbook, you have a list of college-related words, and we are going to learn the pronunciation of these words. So, what's the first word there? Okay, this is the first word. Can you try pronouncing this word? Alright, now check whether your pronunciation is right or not.
Academy.
Okay, what's it? Okay, listen again.
Academy.
Alright, did it match with your pronunciation? Very good. Now let's move on to the next one. What's the next word there? Okay, it's the next word. Now how do you pronounce it? Alright, that's good. Now listen to the pronunciation and check whether your pronunciation was right or not. Okay?
Campus.
Listen again.
Campus.
Okay, I hope you got it right. Now let's move on to the next word. What's the next word? Exactly. This is the next word. I'll not say the pronunciation. I'll not pronounce this word because you have to try it. Okay? So try it. Okay, now check.
Faculty.
Again.
Faculty.
Okay. Now let's move on to the next word. What's the next word? Okay. Try pronouncing this word. Can you? Alright. Now listen to the pronunciation and check whether you are right or not.
Lecture.
Listen again.
Lecture.
Okay. I hope your pronunciation matched with the pronunciation you just have heard. You have just heard. Okay, now let's move on to the next word. Please try pronouncing it. Okay, now listen.
Library.
Again.
Library.
Okay, so I hope you did well. Now let's see the next. Just to pronounce it. Very good. Now just check whether you are right or not.
Graduation. Graduation.
Okay, did your pronunciation match with the pronunciation you heard? Very good then. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, just try to pronounce this word. Okay, now listen.
Alumni. Alumni.
Okay, did it match? That's wonderful then. Okay, next word. Please try pronouncing this word again. Okay, now listen and check.
Scholarship. Scholarship.
Okay, I hope you pronounced the word well. You learnt it. Now, next one. Okay, try pronouncing it. Now listen and check whether you did well or not.
Dormitory. Dormitory.
Was your pronunciation right? Did your pronunciation match with this one? Okay, then very good, wonderful. Now let's move on to next. Pronounce it. Okay, now listen and check.
Semester.
Again.
Semester.
Okay, I hope your pronunciation matched with this one. Now next word. Okay, pronounce it. All right, now check whether you did well, whether you pronounced correctly or not.
Freshman. Freshman.
Was your pronunciation correct? Okay, that's good then. Now the last one. Try it. Pronounce it. Okay, now check.
Tuition.
Listen again.
Tuition.
Okay, very good. You did well, dear students. I hope now you can pronounce these words correctly. Very good. Now let's move on to the next activity. Can you guess what might be the next activity? Wonderful. We are going to deal with grammar. So please look at the activities under Grammar 1 in your textbook. So look at the first activity under Grammar 1. So it says, find the adjectives in the reading text and write their comparative and superlative forms in the table given below. So do you know which reading text we are talking about? Exactly, the reading text we did in the previous class. What was the title? Good, the leap between high school and college. Very good. Now we'll go through that reading text and find out the adjectives there. Make a list of the adjectives. Then as shown in the example here, for example, large is one adjective. In the same way we list other adjectives here. Then we'll write the comparative form and the superlative form of those adjectives. Okay? Did you get the idea? Very good then. Let's move on to the reading text then. Okay, look at the very reading text. Go through it and try to find the adjectives here. I'm giving you the time to look at the adjectives in this reading text. Okay, I hope you have already listed the adjectives there. For example, here you can list the word significant. See? Similarly, you can list the word expensive. Okay? Now, let's move on to the next paragraphs. So, from here also, go through these reading paragraphs, then find out the adjectives here. Can you? Okay, I'm the time. Okay, did you find out? Wonderful. Let's see. So, I hope you have listed the word challenging. Challenging is also an adjective here. Similarly, you might have listed the word smaller. Okay, you list just a small only, positive degree. Okay, base form. Similarly, you may list the word few from pure. Okay. Similarly, look at the last paragraph. You also go through it and find out the adjectives and make a list. Okay. All right, I hope you have done it. Did you? That's good. Now see. Did you write the word conscious from here? It's also an adjective. Okay, very good. Now we have made a list of adjectives. Okay, we have large given in the example, then we have significant, expensive, close, challenging, small, few, and conscious. These are the words we do have. Now, do you know what we need to do? Very good. We need to write the comparative form and superlative form of these adjectives. Let's start with large, though you have already seen in the example. So, according to the example, the comparative form of large is larger and superlative largest. Now, it's your time, it's your turn to do it. Significant. What is its comparative form? More significant? Okay, that's good. It's more significant. And superlative, can you say? Okay, very good. It's most significant. Now, next word. What's the next word? Expensive. Okay, can you say the comparative form of expensive? What did you say? Expensive? No, it's not. Okay, yes, it is more expensive, not expensive. Similarly, the superlative? Very good. It's most expensive. Let's move on to next. Next adjective is, okay, good, close. So what is its comparative then? What did you say? More close? No, it's not. It is very good, closer. Okay, then superlative? Right, closest. Very good, you did well. Now the next word. Now I hope you'll say the right comparative and superlative forms. What's the next word? Challenging. Okay, what is its comparative? More challenging. And superlative? Very good, most challenging. Now let's move on to the next. What's the next word? Yes, it is small. So what is its comparative degree then? Yes, it is smaller. And superlative? Okay, good, it's smallest. Similarly, next you see few, fewer, fewest. In the same way, conscious, more conscious, most conscious. Okay, I hope you learned them. Now, I have a question here. You see here, while changing the adjectives into comparative and superlative forms, somewhere we have just written larger in comparative, somewhere we have added more. In the same way in superlative also, we have somewhere we have written largest like just adding est, and somewhere we have added most. Why? Why this? Means why we have added er and more in, and why est and most in superlative forms? Can you say? Do you have any idea? Okay, do not worry, listen then. See there, look at large. Okay, large. Read it, pronounce it. Large. Okay, did you? Large. So it has just one syllable, means we pronounce it at once. Okay, so it's a short word, and that's why we have added er in comparative and est in superlative. But look at the next word. Read it, pronounce it. How do you pronounce it? Significant. See there, do you pronounce it at once? No, you do have more syllables here. Significant. So you have more syllables. So we have added more in comparative degree and most in superlative degree. The same thing applies in case of expensive. So more expensive and most expensive. Okay, I hope you got it. Now we are going to discuss in which situation you use the comparative degree and in which situation you are going to use the superlative degrees of adjectives. Have you got the idea? Do you know? Okay, do not worry then. Let's see the example. So look at this picture here. So what you see on the picture? Okay, there's a dog, a cow, and a giraffe. Okay, so you do have three pictures here, three animals here. If you just look at there, which looks the tallest? Just look there. Cow is taller than the dog. In the same way, the giraffe here is taller than the cow. Do you see that? That's why when we are comparing the dog and the cow, we can say the cow is taller than the dog. But if we look at all these three, then we have to say the giraffe is the tallest of all. Do you see the highlighted part here? See there, we have used comparative degree here, taller than. And look at this, we have used the superlative degree here, the tallest. Okay. So see, when we compare between two, okay, between two, here in the first one we compared between the cow, the dog and the cow. That's why we have used comparative degree. That's why when we make comparison between two, we use the comparative degree of adjective. Similarly, in the second one, you see there, we have compared all these animals and we came to know that giraffe is the tallest of all. The giraffe is the tallest of all. That's why now we can say that when we make comparison among all there, then we use the superlative degree. I hope you got the idea of using comparative and superlative degree. Now, let's move on to the activity, next activity in your book, and let's use whether you have to use comparative degree or superlative degree. Let's do it. Okay. So, look at exercise B there. It says, complete the following sentences with the comparative or superlative forms of the adjectives given in the box. And you do have the adjectives crowded, high, heavy, slim, expensive, hard, bad, important, exciting, and challenging. Now, you have to choose one of these adjectives and you have to decide whether you have to use comparative or superlative degree of the adjectives. And we have already discussed in which situation we use comparative and in which situation we use the superlative degree of adjectives. Now, look at the first one. I think health is then money. What do you think will be suitable here? Which of the adjectives will be suitable here? Can you say? Very good. Whatever you said is right. Important. But can we write important here? Don't we need to use comparative or superlative degree? Exactly. We need to use either comparative or superlative degree. Then what do we need to use here? Comparative or superlative? Yes, we need to use comparative because we are comparing two things here. What are the two things we are comparing? Okay, very good. We are comparing health and money. These are the two things. That's why we need comparative. That's why let's send this important back. Okay, let's send it back. Now let's use the comparative degree of important. What is the comparative degree? Very good. More important. Very good. You did well. In the same way, let's look at B. I cannot carry my bag. It's then yours. So which word, which adjective is suitable here? Very good. It's heavy. That's good. So heavy. But can we use heavy here? No. Okay. You are well none about it. Okay. We have to use either comparative or superlative form. So what are we going to use here then? Comparative or superlative? Very good. Comparative, because we are comparing the two bags, my bag and your bag. So comparative. And what's the comparative form of heavy then? Okay, very good. It's heavier. You did well. Now let's move on to C and let's do in the same way. So what will be the suitable word for C? I can afford to buy the car in town. What will be there in the blank space? Can you say what will be there? Yes, it is expensive. But this time, what do you think? Comparative degree or superlative degree we need to use? Very good, superlative, because we are comparing to all the cars in the town. We are not talking about just 2 cars. We are talking about the cars in the town, all the cars. That's why superlative degree. And what is the superlative degree of expensive then? Good. It's most expensive. Very good. Now, in the same way, let's move on to D. What will be there? Can you guess? Okay, you are right. We'll use slim there. Okay, you look slim than the last time I saw you. Have you lost weight? Is it correct? No, you are right. We need to use comparative degree of slim here because we are comparing the same person but in different times. Okay, last time and present time because the person has lost the weight. That's why we need to use slimmer. That's good. Similarly, let's move on to E. I could not get a table in the restaurant. It was, then it usually is. So, what will be the word there? What will be the suitable adjective there? Can you guess? Very good. It's crowded. That's why you cannot get the table. But we need to use, very good, comparative degree here because we are comparing the same restaurant but in different times, usually and today. So, see there, we need to use more crowded. Very good, you did well. Let's move on to the remaining activities. So, again, you do have 5 more activities here. Can you guess what will be there in F? Okay, there will be hi, and then can we use the word hi here? No? Then what should we use? Very good. We need to use the superlative degree because peak in the world, we are comparing all the peaks in the world. So, superlative. And what's the superlative degree of high? Very good. It's highest. Highest. Okay, that's good. So, dear students, in the same way, you will be doing the remaining activities there. Okay, you will choose the word, then decide whether you have to use the comparative degree and superlative degree. Okay. Now, let's move on to the next activity. This activity remaining task will be your home assignment. Let's move on to next. Okay, dear students, now we are going to do the next activity, that is speaking. So, look at the very first activity. It says walk in pairs, take turns to ask and answer questions using the given clues. So, there is a conversation between Furva and Lamu. Okay, let's listen what Furva and Lamu say. Okay,
Which animal is bigger, an elephant or a tiger?
then what does Lamu say?
An elephant is bigger than a tiger.
Let's listen again.
Which animal is bigger, an elephant or a tiger?
And what does Lamu say?
An elephant is bigger than a tiger.
Yes. So Furba says, which animal is bigger, an elephant or a tiger? Then Lamu says, an elephant is bigger than a tiger. Okay. So here Furba has made Lamu to compare the animals, elephant and tiger. And he compares and uses comparative degree, says bigger than. Let's look at the next conversation. Let's listen to it. There is a conversation between Harka and Gopi. So what does Harka ask Gopi? Let's listen.
Is a bicycle as expensive as a motorcycle?
So Harka asks, is a bicycle as expensive as a motorcycle? Then what does Gopi reply?
No, a bicycle isn't as expensive as a motorcycle.
So Gopi replies, no, a bicycle isn't as expensive as a motorcycle. Let's listen again.
Is a bicycle as expensive as a motorcycle?
Then Gopi says,
No, a bicycle isn't as expensive as a motorcycle.
So see here, there is a little difference between the previous conversation and this conversation. In the previous conversation, there was a comparison between 2 animals, elephant and tiger. But the way the 2 animals were compared was a little different. There was bigger than was used. Okay? An elephant was bigger than a tiger. But in this conversation, you can see as expensive as. So see here, we have two different ways to compare between the things. So see, here also bicycle and motorcycle, two things are compared but using as expensive as. So you need to remember these two things to do the exercises later. Okay? So one using comparative degree, another using as, then adjective as. So these two ways you can use while making comparison. Let's move on to next. You do have the exercises there. Here you need to work in pairs, then you have to ask the questions given there, and another friend has to answer the question. So for example, look at the first one. Who gets up earlier, your parents or you? Okay, who gets up earlier, your parents or you? This is the question. And then another friend has to answer. Let's do it one by one. So let's see the first one. Okay, there is a question. Who gets up earlier, your parents or you? Then your friend or you have to ask a question, the same question. Who gets up earlier, your parents or you? And the next friend has to reply saying, my parents get up earlier than me. Okay, see here, comparison between your parents and you. Okay, so earlier than. Let's look at B. Which animal do you think is scarier, a snake or a spider? This is the question. And again, in the same way, you will ask the same question or your friend will ask the same question. Which animal do you think is scarier, a snake or a spider? Then the next has to reply saying, can you say? Okay, I think a snake is scarier than a spider. Am I right? Or is it a spider? Okay, snake, that's fine. So I think a snake is scarier than a spider. Again, here we have used the comparative degree of the adjective. See, are you as slim as your mother? Again, see there, you have to ask the same question. Are you as slim as your mother? And the answer will be, I'm not as slim as my mother, you can say. I'm not as slim as my mother. Or you can also say, I am slimmer than my mother. Both possible. You can say, I am slimmer than my mother. Yes, I am slimmer than my mother. Or, no, I'm not as slim as my mother. Okay, you can say. Next, you see there, is today's weather windier than yesterday's? This is the question. And you'll ask the same question. Is today's weather windier than yesterday's? And what will be the reply? If it's windier, you will say, yes, it's windier than yesterday's. If it's not windier, you can say, no, it's not as windy as yesterday's. See there? No, today's weather is not as windy as yesterday's. But if it's windier, then you need to say, yes, today's weather is windier than yesterday's. Okay, let's look at one more. E. Which is expensive, a radio or a television? Which one do you think? Is it a radio? No? Okay, television, all right. So let's see what you have to ask. Which is more expensive, a radio or a television? And what will be the reply then? Okay, a television is more expensive than a radio. Dear students, I hope you got the idea. You work in pairs and have conversation about these things in the same way. Okay, I hope you can do it. Now let's move on to next exercise in your book. Dear students, look at exercise B there. It says, use the clues below to make your own comparisons in the example. Okay, you'll say yourself, you'll make the comparison yourself. my shirt, your shirt. See the example there, and how they are compared. One using my shirt is tidier than your shirt. Another, see, my shirt isn't as new as your shirt. The same way we have already written on the board. So one using comparative degree and then another using as adjective as. Okay. So these are the two ways. So look at the example there again. In case of first one, the sentence is positive. Do you see? In case of second one, the sentence is negative. Okay. Keep it in mind. Okay. In the first one, the sentence is positive. In the second one, the sentence is negative. So when you are using as adjective as, this time you will be using a negative sentence. Okay. Now let's do the exercise together. So you do have different situations given there. We'll do one by one. Look at the very first situation, train and aeroplane. So now in the first one you will use comparative degree then. So can you make a sentence? Can you compare between a train and an aeroplane? Can you? All right, that's fine. A train is bigger than an aeroplane. That's fine. Okay, now in the second one you will be using as adjective as. And how do you do it? Okay, how do you compare then using as between a train and aeroplane? Okay, a train isn't as fast as an aeroplane. That's very good. Now let's look at the next one, lemon and orange. Okay, first using comparative degree. How do you compare between a lemon and an orange? Right, let's see. A lemon is sourer than an orange. That's fine. Okay. Similarly, now using as, can you say? Okay, a lemon isn't as sweet as an orange. Wonderful, you did well. That's good. Let's move on to next. Our neighbors and yours. How are your neighbors and how are our neighbors? Can you compare between the neighbors here? Okay, please say. How are your neighbors? Okay, our neighbors are friendlier than yours. That's fine. Okay, then using as. Okay, our neighbors aren't as noisy as yours. Very good. Now let's compare between a tiger and a lion. Okay, so can you say? Can you compare them? All right, a tiger is heavier than a lion because a tiger has a little more weight than a lion. Okay, that's fine. A tiger is heavier than a lion. Now using as adjective as, what will be your comparison? I want to hear from you. What did you say? Okay, a lion is not as strong as a tiger. Very good. Now let's move on to next. Okay, house and skyscraper. Okay, look at there. It's a house. And look at this picture. It's a skyscraper. So can you compare them? Can you make a comparison? Right. You mean a house is smaller than a skyscraper? Okay. And what next then? Using as. All right. A house is not as tall as a skyscraper. Okay. That's fine. Now, cold drink and fruit juice. Can you compare them? Okay, what did you say? Okay, that's fine. A cold drink is not as healthy as a fruit juice. Okay, so similarly, next, a cold drink is cheaper than a fruit juice. Okay, when you make comparison between a cold drink and fruit juice. Next one, big cities, small towns. Can you say? Can you compare? All right. Big cities are more crowded than small towns. That's fine. Using as. Okay, big cities are not as peaceful as small towns. Hotel and homestay. Do you know what is a homestay? Okay, that's good. So the visitors, the tourists, they stay in a home of a person as a paying guest. They pay some money for food and lodging, but it's not a hotel, it's a person's home. Okay, that's fine. So can you make a comparison then? All right, a hotel is more comfortable than a homestay. Okay, and using as, okay, a hotel is not as cheap as homestay, as cheap as a homestay. Okay, so dear students, you did a wonderful task. Now I'm going to assign you an exercise that's for your practice. Write 10 sentences comparing your village or town with the next village or town where your friend lives. Try to understand the situation given here. You are in your village and there is a friend who lives in another village or another town. Okay, so different from your village or your town. Okay, your friend lives in a different village or a town than yours. Now you have to compare them. For example, you can say my village is bigger than my friend's village. Okay, or you can say my village is cleaner than my friend's village. Okay, that's how you can make the comparison of these two places. This is your assignment. You will do it as your home assignment. Now we are almost at the end of this lesson. So let's recall what we did, what we have done today. So we learned the pronunciation of different college related words. Okay. Similarly, we made comparison between two and among more than two things. And remember, when we compare between two things, we use comparative degree. And when we compare among different things, we use the superlative degree. Similarly, we also learned the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives. Again, we learned when we add er and when we add more to make comparisons. Similarly, we also learned when we add est and when we add most to make superlative degrees of adjectives. And finally, we used comparative and superlative forms of different adjectives. Dear students, I hope this lesson has become fruitful for you in case of learning the degrees of adjectives and using them in your real life. Thank you very much for your active participation. We'll meet again in the next class. Thank you. Namaste. Goodbye.